Nutty Putty Cave tragedy. The evening of November 24, 2009, was crisp and clear in the desert hills near Alberta, Utah. John Edward Jones, a 26-year-old medical student with a passion for adventure, arrived at Nutty Putty Cave with his brother Josh and a group of friends. The cave, a jagged labyrinth of limestone, was a local favorite for its tight, twisting passages that promised a thrilling challenge. John, standing 6 feet tall and weighing 200 pounds, was no stranger to caving, but his excitement blinded him to the cave's unforgiving nature. The air inside Nutty Putty was damp and heavy, carrying the faint metallic tang of minerals. Headlamps cast jittery beams across the smooth, slick walls as the group descended, their boots scraping against loose gravel. About 400 feet, roughly 122 meters from the entrance, John spotted a narrow passage he believed was the infamous birth canal, a tight squeeze renowned among cavers. In reality, it was an unmapped crevice, barely 10 inches wide, 25 centimeters at its narrowest point. Driven by curiosity, he decided to explore it alone. John wedged himself into the fissure, his broad shoulders brushing against the cold stone. The passage sloped downward at a steep 70-degree angle, forcing him to exhale deeply to squeeze through. His headlamp flickered, illuminating only a few inches ahead, where the walls seemed to close in like a vise. Halfway down, about 150 feet deep, he realized his mistake. The crevice was too tight, his chest was compressed, his arms pinned awkwardly above his head. He tried to back out, but his body was lodged at an impossible angle, upside down, with gravity pulling him deeper. Panic clawed at his chest. "Josh!" he shouted, his voice muffled by the stone. His brother, still in a wider passage, heard the faint cry and scrambled toward the sound. Peering into the crevice, Josh saw John's boots protruding from the rock, twitching slightly. "I'm stuck," John gasped, his breath shallow and labored. The cave's 55-degree Fahrenheit, 13 degrees Celsius, temperature began to seep into his bones, and the pressure on his lungs made each inhale a struggle. "I just wanted to explore," he whispered, his voice trembling with fear. Josh tried to pull him out, gripping John's ankles with all his strength, but the angle and slick walls offered no leverage. Desperate, he called for the rest of the group, and one friend sprinted to the surface to dial emergency services. Within hours, over 100 rescuers from the Utah County Sheriff's Office and local caving teams converged on Nutty Putty. They brought ropes, pulleys, and hydraulic jacks, but the cave's maze-like structure slowed their progress. The narrow passage, barely wider than a man's shoulders, was a nightmare to navigate. John's condition worsened. His upside-down position caused blood to pool in his head, swelling his face and straining his heart. Rescuers reached him after 6 grueling hours, feeding him water through a thin tube and attaching a rope system to his legs. "Stay with us, John," a rescuer urged, but his responses grew weaker. The team rigged a pulley system, inching him upward, but the crevice's jagged edges caught his clothing, halting progress. At one point, a rope snapped, dropping John back into the fissure, the impact stealing what little strength he had left. The cave seemed to tighten its grip. John's body, twisted at an unnatural angle, was pinned by millions of tons of rock above him. His headlamp battery died, plunging him into total darkness. "I'm sorry," he murmured, thinking of his wife and unborn child. Rescuers worked tirelessly, but after 28 hours, John's pulse faded. The relentless pressure on his chest and the strain on his heart proved too much. At 11:56 p.m. on November 25th, he was pronounced dead, still trapped in the crevice. The aftermath was heartbreaking. The passage was too narrow to retrieve John's body without risking more lives. After days of deliberation, authorities made a gut-wrenching decision. Nutty Putty Cave was sealed with concrete, leaving John entombed inside. His brother Josh later reflected, "We underestimated the cave's dangers. We thought we were prepared, but we weren't." The tragedy became a stark reminder of the risks of caving without proper training and respect for nature's unforgiving power. If you like this video, subscribe for similar ones.